Imagine a new kind of investing, a potentially life-changing way to invest that honors biblical principles, the kind of principles that you and I grew up with. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has made biblically responsible investing possible, offering mutual funds and ETFs that are filtered for biblical principles. Don't compromise your values. Invest with Timothy Plan. Ask your financial advisor or call Timothy Plan at 1-800-TIM-PLAN. Again, that's 1-800-846-7526 and discover what it means to be a biblically responsible investor. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com. Read carefully before investing. Mutual funds distributed by Timothy Partners Ltd. and ETFs distributed by Foreside Fund Services LLC. As a paid testimonial, there is no guarantee of future performance and each experience will differ. Well, hey there, welcome to another MemoPod. Great to have you aboard. A lot of things that I was going to get to on the MemoPod today that are now going to be shifted and moved, primarily because of the verdict that came out, or the 34 verdicts or whatever that came out. It would have been last night. Yeah, I'm sitting at this is, just so you're aware, like some of you commented at the end of the last MemoPod, I got emails saying, hey, are you all right? You look a little frazzled. I went back and looked at the video and man, I looked a little frazzled, just exhausted. This is that time of year, the end of the school year, and being the graduation coordinator, me and another lady are the graduation coordinator. And the weird thing is the other lady teacher who helps me out as senior class sponsor to do all the graduation stuff and senior trip stuff and all that, she's a former student of mine. It's crazy that she was a student, she graduated, came back, she teaches there, and now is helping me with all of that stuff. It's just weird. But anyway, so this is the end of the school year, and consequently, this was the last week of school, and things were just remarkably hectic for the last 2 weeks. And so, yeah, I haven't been sleeping a lot and a lot of other stuff going on and responsibilities and duties. And so I think that's probably what led to it last time. And shoot, maybe by the end of this MemoPod today, I'll be looking just as frazzled as I did at the end of the last one. But I'm feeling a little bit better. Now with we got graduation still coming up, but with the school year now in the rearview mirror, I think that... Hey, I'm teaching summer school, but it's just a different feel. Yeah, I go in shorts and a t-shirt. You can't really be that stressed at a job when you're going in shorts and a t-shirt, which is why PE teachers make out like bandits all year long. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So, I appreciate all of you letting me know, hey, you look like trash in the last MemoPod. That's really good. And now I know all of you that typically listen to the MemoPod, now you're going to go online and find the video from last week just so you can look at my hideous, wretched self. Whatever. If that's what you want to do, you go right ahead. But thankful for all of you who have joined as paid subscribers now here at the end of the month of May. Today is the last day. If you are a free subscriber, this is the last day that you can take advantage of our discounted rate to sign up for the year. You can get 30% off today only. This is it. May 31st, last day of May. And then tomorrow in June, which is the first day of Pride Month, so that's exciting. To celebrate Pride Month, we'll be jacking up the rate back to its normal cost. All right? That's the way we celebrate Pride Month. As a Christian, it's a weird thing to talk about Pride Month, given that it's, the root of all sin. You think that would trigger somebody, maybe this isn't really what we should be bragging about. Whatever. Today's the last day. And I want you to do that in the second half of the MemoPod today. Because I've been frazzled this week and because I'm shifting everything I was going to do, because here at the start, I want to talk about what I see with these Trump, I can't say indictments, Trump convictions now in the state of New York. What I think is going on, what I think is going to go on, and how I think we need to respond to it as Christians. So I want to talk about that in just a second. But in the second half of the MemoPod today, I'm going to play a video clip from a television program that you maybe have not seen. Many of you probably have. But I want you to see it or hear it if you're listening. And that's going to take the place of some of my lack of preparation this week as I've been so concentrating on school stuff. But the other thing that I'm going to want to talk about is a school-related thing I am going to share with you, those of you who are paid subscribers. And this isn't going to be as serious as a topic as the beginning half here is going to be here in just a second. I'm going to share with you what makes teaching so delightful. Sometimes people say, how can you begin to deal with 17-year-olds on a daily basis? And I love it. I really do. Oh, I get annoyed. But everybody gets annoyed with their job at some point in time and the people that they work with. It's just the nature of human emotions. But I really do love it. And what I have for you, this kid, like, I made their final so easy in U.S. history. So easy. And I'll tell you what it was that I had them do. This kid chose to use artificial intelligence, AI, ChatGPT or whatever, have AI write his final for him. You're saying, well, how did he get away with it? I'm going to explain all of that in the second half. But you have to hear what I was supposed to believe he came up with on his own. It's the most insane thing. I mean, I'm laughing just thinking about it, and you all need to hear it. That's in the second half, as well as this audio, if you're listening, or video clip from a television program that I think is just going to lift your spirits. And that's what I want to do at the here at the end of the month of May, because this opening part maybe is going to frustrate you a little bit. And I want to take you back real quick, if I may. I'm going to take you back. I'm getting something set here on my phone is what I'm doing. I'm not ignoring you. I want to take you back to a guy by the name of Harry Reid. Harry Reid was a senator from the state of Nevada. He has since passed away. But Harry Reid was the Senate Majority Leader when the Democrats controlled the Senate during the George W. Bush tenure in office. Okay? So this is, in 2000 was the first election of George W. Bush, 2004 was the second. So he served from 2001, and he left office when Obama came in 2009. During those years, Harry Reid spent much of the time as the Senate Majority Leader. The Democrats had control of the Senate. And Miguel Estrada is the guy's name that I remember because I was on the radio at the time and this was a major topic of conversation. And Miguel Estrada was one of George W. Bush's appointments to the Circuit Court of Appeals. So you got like the Supreme Court of the United States, then you got the Circuit Court of Appeals, and then you got the federal district courts. That's like the ladder top down in the federal judiciary. So George W. Bush is appointing Miguel Estrada, as well as Janice Rogers Brown, and I can't think of the other lady's name off the top of my head, but there were three of them who were solid, conservative, we're talking the Federalist Society style judges. Federalist Society is the conservative legal organization that Trump vowed that he would pick Supreme Court justices from, and he did. So that's what that body is. And so George W. Bush appoints these people to circuit court positions. And everybody was saying this is the stepping stone. And when there isn't an opening on the Supreme Court, if it happens during George W. Bush's time, that's the sign that he's going to nominate that person to fill those positions. The left didn't want those people in those positions at all. Owen, I think it was Priscilla Owen, was the other judge's name. But anyway, so the left doesn't want them in those positions. They want to stop them. And so what Harry Reid decided to do was to, he was going to use the filibuster to stop judicial nominees of George W. Bush. Okay? And so they did. They filibustered a bunch of George W. Bush's nominees. Then Barack Obama comes in, and Harry Reid, as Senate Majority Leader, is now in a situation he wants to allow Barack Obama's judicial appointments to go through. But the Republicans were playing the game, hey, you filibustered Miguel Estrada, you filibustered Priscilla Owen, you filibustered Janice Rogers Brown, you Democrats, and now we're going to hold up a bunch of Obama's lower court appointments, federal district court, circuit court of appeals. So they start using the filibuster. And Harry Reid, as Senate Majority Leader, made the executive decision to eliminate the filibuster for judicial nominees, saying it can only be used, you can't use it, we're gonna get rid of it for judicial nominees. And all the Democrats praised and adored that decision. They thought it was such a great idea, such a shrewd move by Harry Reid. And there were a lot of conservatives that got really upset about it. I think I probably was one. I'd have to go back and look. Actually, I don't even think I can. I think I threw away all the archives. But I know that I would have been one that was upset with this little gamesmanship of Harry Reid to get rid of the filibuster. There were other conservatives who were saying, you're not going to like this. You're not going to like where this leads, because if you're doing it now, the pendulum will swing, and then pretty soon you're going to be on the other side. And that's why, regardless of what political party you're in, regardless of what political movement you take residence in, you are going to eventually be on the outside looking in. So you need to be very careful about what norms you abuse or obliterate, because then they will not be there to protect you when you want them there. And so there were conservatives, wise conservatives, that were saying that. But the Democrats were living for the moment, and so they obliterated the filibuster for lower court judicial nominees that Barack Obama made, and Obama got his judges in. Well, guess what happens in 2016? In 2016, Donald Trump pulls off the political upset of a lifetime and defeats Hillary Clinton, becomes president of the United States against all odds. And he doesn't get just one. He doesn't just get two. He gets three. In one term, he gets 3 Supreme Court appointments. Now, the Republicans did not have a filibuster proof, which has to be 60, does not have a filibuster proof majority in the Senate, not even close. So the Democrats vow that they're going to filibuster these Supreme Court appointments of Donald Trump because they're extreme. Neil Gorsuch, he's extreme. Brett Kavanaugh, he's extreme. Amy Coney Barrett, extreme. But the problem was that Harry Reid had made the rules. And now the Democrats had to live by them. And of course, they made the objection, well, but Harry Reid only obliterated the filibuster for lower court nominees, not Supreme Court nominees. That's totally different. Well, how's it different? Well, I mean, they're the Supreme Court. There was no answer to that. You got rid of the filibuster, saying it wasn't appropriate to keep judges from their positions if they're rightfully and duly appointed. All right? That's the same principle, maybe even more important for a Supreme Court justice. So filibuster gone, and Trump gets 3 nominees to tip the balance of power. It was the backfire of epic proportions. And Republicans had a lot of fun with that. Putting together the memes and putting together the phrases and just all of it about thank you, Harry Reid. And Democrats, you can thank Harry Reid for the 3 people that Trump appoints to the Supreme Court of the United States. I'm bringing all of that up because that is exactly what I am taking away from these convictions of Donald Trump. To be clear, this was a circus from the beginning. And most of you know, I guess if you are a new subscriber, maybe you don't have a lot of background on me and all of that. But those of you who have been around for a while, you know I'm not a Trump guy. I haven't ever voted for Donald Trump. And so this isn't, I'm a guy that wrote people in because to me, the non-negotiables that I have for who's going to earn my vote for office, Donald Trump fails those. And in good conscience, I can't do it. I haven't faulted people, Christians who can, and I haven't gotten mad at Christians who say that I'm wrong for doing what I'm doing. I'm keeping a clear conscience before God. And that's what I have to do. And that's what I'm going to do. And people can criticize me until the cows come home, and they have. But that's not, wasn't going to change what I felt convicted about and what I was going to do. So I'm saying all of that, not to invite more criticism, but to say that I'm not a Trump guy. I'm not interested in carrying the water for him. I think it is a disaster that the Republicans, I still am in disbelief that they had the options that they had this year and decided to run it back with Trump, knowing all of this stuff was going to happen. I'm beside myself in disillusionment. If, I was a Tim Scott guy. I like Tim Scott. But a couple of the others too. Ron DeSantis. Look at what's going on in Florida. It's win after win after win for conservatism. And like actual accomplishments, policy-wise. But we passed on that. So again, what I'm trying to establish right now is I'm not the guy you're going to turn to defend Donald Trump. But even I have to acknowledge that this whole trial in New York has been a predictable circus. Let me read to you. I did my best to try to understand exactly what was going on, and this was the best description of it that I could find, the best one that I could follow. Trump faced 34 felony counts of falsifying business records because he categorized as legal expenses the reimbursements he made to his lawyer, Michael Cohen, for hush money payments to a porn star that Trump allegedly had sex with. Okay? You following this so far? The 34 felony counts were about him falsifying business records. Because in his business records, he had these, he was reimbursing his attorney who had made hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. Follow me? But in his paperwork, he listed those as business expenses. Now, back to the description here. One might argue that paying your lawyer to arrange an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, that is in fact a legal expense. It may be unsavory, but it's a legal expense. The bigger problem is that falsifying business expenses is a misdemeanor in New York, and it has a 2-year statute of limitations. I wanted to say that again. Here's why I'm saying all of this was a circus. Because falsifying your business expenses, which is what Trump was accused of doing, that's a misdemeanor in New York. It's not a felony. It's a misdemeanor, and it comes with a 2-year statute of limitations. This alleged crime took place in 2017. That is 6 years before this DA, this district attorney, this Alvin Bragg guy, filed charges. So it is beyond the statute of limitations. So how do they do it? All right, you're going to love this. A misdemeanor in New York can be raised to the level of a felony, and the felony has a 6-year statute of limitations, which would allow it to be tried. A 6-year statute of limitations if that misdemeanor becomes a felony. And that can be reality if there was another crime committed that went with it. And that's exactly what Alvin Bragg said had happened. So what is the other crime that Donald Trump allegedly committed in concert with the falsifying of business records, which would take this from a 2-year statute of limitations misdemeanor to a 6-year statute of limitations just under the wire felony? What was the other crime? Well, nobody brought that up in this trial until closing arguments. Prosecutors finally revealed that the other crime was, this is unreal, a violation of a New York State election law that makes it a misdemeanor to conspire to promote the election of any person to public office by unlawful means. So the other crime is also a misdemeanor, which is only a crime if it happens with another crime. In this case, whatever crime makes the election conspiracy unlawful. This is the biggest circus and joke of charges that you've ever seen. This is why people like Jonah Goldberg, he's certainly no fan of Trump, and he's been utterly criticized by so many people on the right who are MAGA activists who used to love and cite Jonah Goldberg all the time. Now they don't like it because he turned on Trump. Jonah Goldberg has said, this is a travesty of justice that is happening in the state of New York. But they went ahead with it, and in the state of New York, you're going to have an entire jury made up of left-wingers, and so, yeah, they're going to find Trump guilty, and everybody kind of saw that coming. At least I think they did. I did. So what do I think is going to come out of all of this? Okay, here's my biggest thing about this. If you are going to put on trial whether you like this or not, Republicans, whether you like this or not, conservatives, Donald Trump is the leader of the Republican Party. So the opposition party, if you are going to put on trial your major political opponent, a former president who is running for president again, if you are going to do that, the case that you have better be so egregious and so obvious and so awful. To me, when it is something like this, if you're going to put on trial a la Marxists, a la Stalin, this is the stuff that the Stalinites did in the old Soviet Union. You're going to put on trial your major political rival and try to send him to jail. If you're going to do that, that is such a bad optics and be so bad for national unity. So bad. And remember, that's what Joe Biden was that's how he was sold to us, that he was going to be the guy that brought about that national unity. If you're going to do something that is so divisive and bad for national unity, it better be something egregiously and obviously felonious. And this is anything but. This isn't even close to being an obvious, well, yeah, there's clearly a felony that's been committed here. It's not even close to that. And so the decision to go through with it, I'll point out, Trump didn't do it with Hillary. And the case against Hillary and the things that Hillary had done were far more evidence-based. You can make a much stronger case. But Donald Trump, whatever you may think of him, whatever I may think of him, Donald Trump rightly understood this isn't a path we want to go down. We want to heal the country. We don't want to further divide the country. We don't want to put, as the left loves to talk about, our democracy at risk by starting show trials of political leaders that we disagree with. Trump understood that, and he refused to pursue anything, much to the chagrin of conservatives that had rallied behind the lock her up mantra of his campaign. Trump didn't do it with Hillary. And remember, Hillary spread around a false dossier about Trump being a Russian spy, and guess what she did? She lied about that money being legal expenses. Sound familiar? Hillary paid a fine for what she did. But Trump is now regarded as a felon. So, let me get to the point. Here's what's about to happen. Okay? And I would put a lot of money on this if I was a betting man. This is going to be appealed, and it's going to go through the courts, eventually being appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States. I don't know who's going to be president at that time. I don't know what's going to come of it. But when it gets to the Supreme Court, you will then understand why for the last week and a half or whatever it's been, we will be we have been talking about the appeal to heaven flag that Alito raised up. Why all of this talk about the Supreme Court and SCOTUS is corrupt, why all of that talk's been happening. Because this case will reach the Supreme Court, and the media, the spokesman and propaganda team for the leftist progressive movement, they will have laid the groundwork of the Supreme Court is corrupt and they are just defending their own, and this has to be stopped. We have to pack the Supreme Court with more members to undo Trump's unjust and unlawful Supreme Court. That's why the groundwork has been laid in all of this. If you've been sitting there scratching your head saying, why do people care so much that Sam Alito's wife raised a flag at their vacation home? Okay, this is why that has become such a big deal. Secondly, the campaign for president. You will now hear the Democrats, and this is going to be really rich. You're going to hear the Democrats tell voters that it's dangerous to elect Donald Trump. Now that he's a convicted felon, it's dangerous to elect him. And why? Why will they say it's dangerous to elect him? Because if he becomes president, what will he do? He'll seek revenge. He will, are you picking up on the irony there? He will seek revenge against his political opponents. What has the left just done? Right. They've done that very thing. This is like when the left got mad about the Republicans, the right, getting rid of the filibuster to put those Supreme Court justices on. It's the same thing that they did and were doing. And that's what's going to be amazing about this. The Democrats have turned the Department of Justice into a political weapon against political opponents. They have politicized the Justice Department. And they're worried that Donald Trump will get in there and use the Justice Department to do what? To do exactly what they have done. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you know anything about the character of Donald Trump, and I think that I do, I think we all do, that's exactly what he's going to do. And there's going to be so many people in the MAGA movement, so many people on the right who are going to be 100% on board with it. What's going to happen to national unity then? And that's the thing that's a real killer. Adam Schiff and Joe Biden and Ben Rhodes and all of these guys on the left that are crowing right now, they are not going to like the new rules. Now, Biden may be so mentally out of it that he won't have to suffer the consequences. And if he does, he won't know what's going on. That's possible. But like Adam Schiff, he's not going to like the new rules. He may right now, but he's not going to like them. Because Donald Trump and the MAGA movement that has taken over the Republican Party, that's what Trump was. Trump was revenge in the first place. I've said this before. The right got tired of being bullied, and so they went out and they hired a bully of their own. And the more Trump bullies the left, the more vengeful he becomes, the more the MAGA movement embraces him and loves him and praises him. So that's what's coming. Everybody can see that that's what's coming. And if Trump gets into office, once that starts occurring, what are you going to hear? Kyle Mann wrote it in a tweet. You're going to get all of these New York Times think pieces, or The Atlantic is writing about, well, how did we get here as a country? That we have a president who's going after, speaking of Trump, who's going after his political opponents on a vengeance vendetta. Okay, how did we get here? That's what the left did. They're the ones that started all of it and made this very, very unhealthy, unwise, divisive, and I believe dangerous move with regard to prosecuting Donald Trump. I'm interested in your thoughts on the whole situation, but also what I see is coming. You can send them my way, peter@peterhegg.com. That's peter@peterhegg.com, or just comment below in the comments section. But that's what I see. That's what I think about all of this, and that's where I think we're headed. Christians, what about us? Let me put this as plainly and as clearly as I possibly can before we hit this break. I would say to Christians that you may feel that all of this, we may feel that all of this is unjust, and I think that it is. I don't think Donald Trump has sterling character by any stretch of the imagination, but I can also recognize trumped-up charges that would have never been brought against another person. And I'm not saying that you wouldn't have had misdemeanor charges, but this was an obvious attempt to get the headline that Donald Trump is a felon and to be able to run all the pictures of the jail bars and all of that stuff. That's what this was about. And in that sense, it's injustice. It's not just. A Christian will not fight injustice with injustice. A Christian will not actively promote and desire that evil be done to someone else because they did evil first. Because the Christian understands the way this works, that we pray for our enemies and those who persecute us. So you don't root for evil against somebody that you disagree with. Love justice. Love righteousness. Love peace. Love understanding. And love one another. That's our calling. Even those that we disagree with vehemently. And there is no expectations that Christians not warn and not talk about and not draw attention to injustice when it takes place. We absolutely should. But that doesn't mean we stop loving people. And it doesn't mean that we lash out in Romans 12. What does it say? Hate what is evil and cling to what is good. That's where we have to be in all of this. As much as our instincts, our worldly nature wants to get in the mud and hurl it along with those that have been hurling it themselves. That's not who we are. It's not who we're called to be. It's not who Jesus was. And it's not who I want to be. Your thoughts welcome. peterpeteregg.com. Okay, for those of you who are paying subscribers, today's the last day, free subscribers, to do it, to click the link in that email, get the 30% off for a yearly subscription. Do it now. And then you can see what I've got for you in the second half. Why I love teaching this student how he thought he was going to get away and how he even put it together in the first place using ChatGPT to write his final. I have to share this with you. You'll crack up. You will absolutely crack up that a high school kid thought I was going to buy this being his work and not that of a computer. I've got that and a video clip. I think I've got time to get to it. I know we're going a little long here, so may not have time for the video clip, but I can at least point you in that direction. Anyway, all of that comes up after the break for our paying subscribers. Free subscribers, got to leave you here, and I'll see you next week. Paid subscribers, hang tight.
The Memo with Peter Heck.
Please patronize and thank all the sponsors of the Heck podcast, including McGonagall's Buick GMC, Terrell's Auto Service, Norris Insurance, Stevens Machine, Creative Financial Center, Indiana Right to Life, Tri-Green Tractor, the Indiana Family Institute, Hartman Family Farms, Liberty Financial Group, the Wyman Group, and J. Watson Creations.